Okay, so it started and it's on YouTube also. So Alhamdulillah, so I think we can give it a start, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبع هداه أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, continuing our lessons from Madeenah book 2. Inshallah, let me just share the screen بإذن ta'ala. So one part of the screens I'm going to share is a continuation of mention of the ayat, some of the ayat that we were looking at last time, that were corresponding to the rules in the units that we were revising. So let me just get those up and ready. These are here. And also, if I could get the actual book, that would also be good. That would be helpful. Okay, so here basically here's the actual text of the book. And what I want to do is have it side by side with the ayat. There was a way that we would do that before. I'm not sure if it's still available, that option. Is it to share the whole screen or something? Maybe it's advanced portion of screen. I think this is it. Here. This is it. Okay, almost there. And this might appear slightly small on your screens. I hope it's not like too difficult to read. Because what I was hoping to do was to get both the ayat as well as the points of the rules that we had covered in the same place, same page. Okay, so going back to where we left off from last time, basically was we were at the end of Ad-Dars al-Ashir, revising and just looking at some of the ayat in the Quran that correspond with the things that we had learnt. And that was looking at the fi'l madi and also the fi'l mudari'. There was some vocabulary that I wanted to highlight also. There was this word that came in the Dars al-Ashir. This was, here it is. Can you see it? Mubakkiran and mutaakhiran. You see that, guys? So what does it mean? What do these words mean? Anyone tell me?
Mutaakhiran means late.
Barakallah feek. Ahsantum. So, and mutaakhiran means late, and the verb which relates to this is found in the Quran. Here's the example here. فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ وَمَنْ تَأَخَّرَ. So that's the verb which relates to this word that you have in the lesson there, مُتَأَخِّرًا. وَمَنْ تَأَخَّرَ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. So basically this ayah here in Surah Al-Baqarah is referring to the pilgrims al-Hujjaj, the 2 or 3 days of Tarwiyah, the days immediately after Yawm al-Eid, Yawm al-Nahr, day of sacrifice. So the Hujjaj, they can stay in Mina, ready to stone the Jamarat for 2 days, and if they wish to stay behind, they can stay for 3 days. And this was in the past, in the pre-Islamic days, it was considered wrong to leave before the 3rd day of stoning. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala absolves people of blame. He said, فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ, which means whoever hastens and leaves after 2 days, فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ, there's no sin upon that person. وَمَنْ تَأَخَّرَ, and whoever delays, meaning remains until the 3rd day, فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ لِمَنِ اتَّقَى. But the word at the end of the ayah is missing. فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ لِمَنِ اتَّقَى. There's no sin upon that person for those people who did it out of taqwa, out of piety. Jayyid. So not to dwell too much or spend too much explaining the ayat, because that takes us away from the main purpose of in this current lesson, which is just to identify, the point right really is to build confidence in the learner and in the reader, that as you're learning Arabic, it's relevant and you can apply it to what you already know. You can apply it to your learning. That's really the purpose here, to instill that confidence in you. Let's go to Ad-Dars al-Hadi Ashar. Dars al-Hadi Ashar, it was a continuation of Fi'l Mudari'. And Fi'l Mudari', as you know, the huruf al-Mudara'a, how many huruf al-Mudara'a are there? Anyone tell me? Can you remember?
4.
Ahsant. There are 4. And who are they, please?
Alif, Nun, Ya, and Ta.
Allah yabarak feek. So these letters, they come before the fi'l mudari', and they are the ones that affect the meaning of the word. Jayyid. And we started with the ya, yadrusu, yaf'alu, ya'malu. That was in Dars al-Ashir. And over here, there's an extension of the various huruf al-mudara'a to show the difference of meaning. So one of the things was with the ta that comes before the verb. As you can see, I'll put a square around it. Aina tadrusu ya akhi. Jayyid. Aina tadrusu ya akhi. So when someone says Aina tadrusu, then what is the fa'il of that verb that is being indicated here?
Anta.
Ahsan, tabarakallah feek. It is anta. Aina tadrusu, meaning Aina tadrusu anta. Jayyid. So in the Quran, we have an example of that, which is in Surah Yusuf. I'm sure we have many examples, but I just basically just giving a couple of examples to show you that these wordings are available, and when you read the Quran, when you ponder over it, you'll be able to pick up on them, inshallah. So, for example, Ikhwatu Yusuf alayhi salam, they were blaming their father for continuously remembering Yusuf alayhi salam. Jayyid. They said, قالوا تالله تفتأ تذكر يوسف حتى تكون حرضا. So here, تذكر is an example of the verb from ذكر يذكر, which means to remember. And so أنت تذكر, meaning referring to the father. And over here, Yusuf, the word Yusuf is mansub because it is مفعول به. جيد. حتى تكون, also that ta is ta للمخاطب. جيد. And so is here tafta'u. These are all verbs and they relate to the fa'il anta. And then adrusu, the alif is harf al-mudara'a for ana. But one of the main points in this lesson was to differentiate between the two types of ta that appear before the fi'al mudari. Here they are. تذهب, أنت تذهب, and هي تذهب. The verb is the same, تذهب and تذهب. The context controls whether the meaning is anta or whether the meaning is هي. جيد. And so here we have, that's not the page that I need. Where's my Arabic book gone? How did that slip down there? That's one of the downsides of having this the full screen open, because then it can get confusing. Something slips. All right, here we are again. So أنت تذهب وهي تذهب. جيد. So when you come over here, you see this ayah in Surah Hud. If I'm not mistaken, Surah Hud, they said قالوا يا شعيب أصلاتك تأمرك أن نترك ما يعبد آباؤنا. So what is the relevance of this ayah with the rule that we're just discussing here right now? Anyone tell me?
It's the mentioning here, they're asking actually, is your as-salatuka, your salah is ordering you, so we we leave off our forefathers upon.
Yeah, the things that our forefathers were worshipping. ما يعبد آباؤنا.
Our forefathers.
Ahsan. So the fa'il of ta'muruka, where's the fa'il?
Ka.
What? Basically, it's referring to salatuka. It's referring to salatu as-salah. Okay? So the salah, this is here. Salah is here. Is it the salah that is commanding you to tell us to abandon what our forefathers were worshipping? So this verb here, ta'muru, is not anta ta'muru. It's not anta ta'muru. Ya shu'aybu. It's not ya shu'ayb anta ta'muru, because this kaf here, you see this kaf? This is referring to Shu'ayb alayhi salam. Ta'muruka, ta'muru Shu'ayba. Is your prayer, O Shu'ayb, commanding you, O Shu'ayb? So this ta'muru, this ta, what does it go back to? Referring to the salah.
Here.
Yeah, ahsant. Referring to the salah. Barakallahu feekum. That's the point here. Look at these two verbs. One is tadhkuru in the previous ayah. One is ta'muru in the next ayah, and this one here. And tadhkuru here corresponds to anta, as is in the Dars al-Ashir. Anta tadhhabu. Yeah. And the example here, ta'muru, ta'muruka, corresponds to here. Right? And I'm sure you'll find many more examples like that as you read as you read through the Quran, inshallah. Let's keep going. Aywa. So now to the next point. This was here. The usage of ma an-nafiya and la an-nafiya. Jayid? And what did we discover about the usage, as was in a Dars al-Ashir? Can you derive it from what I've just put this rectangle around? What was it that we had? said? What do you notice of these two sentences? ما كتب أحمد الدرس لا يكتب أحمد الدرس.
ما
is
ماضي.
used.
Afwan, a few voices came at the same time.
Ma is
ما
used in
اسم.
past.
I'll ask Saqib. Go ahead. Afwan, brothers.
Ma is used for past and la is used for present. Mazare.
So in general and in usual, ma is, you use it for al-fi'l al-madi. جيد? And the la in nafiya is used for fi'l mudari. Barakallahu feekum. And we have examples of that. Let's have some examples in the Quran. There you have Surah Al-Baqarah. أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى فما ربحت تجارتهم فما ربحت تجارتهم. جيد? So here you can see the ma over here is nafiya and rabihat, this is past tense. طيب? Why is it rabihat?
Because of tijaratu.
Ahsant. Adil, because of tijaratuhum. And tijara over here, this is the this is mu'annath. Mufrad mu'annath. فما ربحت تجارتهم وما كانوا مهتدين. They were not rightly guided. Also you have in Juz Amma near the end of the Quran, I was trying to find examples near the end, so it's relevant to more people because people are often concentrating on those shorter surahs first. ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب. This is not a good example because this meme is not meme, is not ma'anafiya. But there is ma'anafiya in this ayah. Where is it?
Ma'agna.
The beginning one, yeah. Yeah. The one I highlighted is actually what is it? Ma'al, which was what type of this ma? We did it in Dars al-Sadis Ashar.
Nafiya.
Mawsula.
Ma al-Mawsula actually. Ma yani alladhi, meaning alladhi kasab, and what he had earned. Yeah, alladhi kasab. So this one here, ma aghna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab. This is the example of ma al-nafiya. And maybe some of you are thinking, well, if this is fi'l madi, then why is there this alif at the beginning, hamza, which looks like hamza al-mudari'? جيد? And you will soon learn, inshallah, in the Dars al-Sabi' Ashar, that, and you actually have learned this without realizing it in the Dars al-Sadis Ashar, that you have already been introduced to 4-letter verbs. A 4-letter verb, the past tense starts with this alif, this hamza. And in the present tense, the fi'l mudari', it starts with you, ya, with a dhamma on it. And this is what you were doing in Dars al-Sadis Ashar, where you learnt yuridu and turidu and uridu and nuridu. Yeah? All of those af'al mudari'ah you had, starting with a dhamma, with the harf al-mudari'. In that case, the fi'l madi will start with this hamza, which has an alif in the beginning, which has a fatha on the beginning. So aghna is the fi'l madi, and yughni is a fi'l mudari', and this is something which is new to us all, and we will be looking at it more, inshallah, as our lessons develop, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, straight soon ahead of us, inshallah. Also, in Surah, what's this surah? ما ودعك ربك وما قلى. Anyone recognize this surah?
Surah Al-Duha.
Allah barik feek. Your Lord didn't abandon you. ما ودعك ربك. Nor did he show hatred to you. This was an accusation. And if you look in the tafsir, you find accusations that were made against the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for various reasons. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reassured Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he was never abandoned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was never hated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After Allah ta'ala loved him, he never hated him. After he chose him as his messenger, he never left him, abandoned him. But if there was some delay in the wahi, and this was from the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a reason that he chooses. Jayyid. Now we have a few other examples, two other examples. ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَا. So this la is la nafiya. And what verb do you see that comes after it? يموت مضارع يحيى مضارع جيد and يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا والأمر يومئذ لله. Some letters missing at the end of the ayah. جيد. So is that clear, guys? Good examples? Easy to follow?
Yeah.
This one here, tamliku, tamliku, where's the fa'il? Is it anta or is it hiya?
Yeah.
And how do you know?
لا تملكوا. It's actually talking to the individual person actually. لا تملكوا, you won't possess.
Anta.
Anta afwan, yeah.
You sure? You changed your mind?
Yes, I did.
Anyone else want to contradict Akram? You want to stick with what Akram says? Is the fa'il?
Come back to nafs.
Answer.
Abu Hassan, afwan, Abu Hassan. Is it anta or is it hiya?
I come back to my original answer here because in nafsun is one nafs.
Ahsan. Ahsan, Abu Hassan, barakallahu feek.
وفي
Nafsun. This is it. Hiya. لا تملك نفس. Nafsun is the fa'il. Basically, hiya. Hiya la tamliku. So no soul possesses anything for or against another soul. وَالْأَمْرُ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلَّهِ. That day, the command will be purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Barakallahu feek. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Nice point of benefit that has been mentioned by Ustad Muzammil in the chat box. Sheikh Abu Idris mentioned regarding the delay and the OSC about Surah Al-Duha. That's one of the explanations that has been given. Ahsant. And then in the book, when we go back to the book, you'll see we have this harf al-istiqbal, which is basically harf al-sin, which comes before the verb. سيرجع المدير غدا. سأذهب إلى مكة بعد أسبوع إن شاء الله. سيرجع بعد أسبوع. All of these examples with the harf sin. جيد. In the Quran you find the harf sin, which is harf al-istiqbal. أولئك سيرحمهم الله. Those, Allah will soon have mercy on them. Also in Surah An-Nisa, ستجدون آخرين يريدون أن يأمنوكم ويأمنوا قومهم كلما ردوا إلى الفتنة أركسوا فيها. This is about the hypocrites, the munafiqun. You will find a group amongst them, or another group amongst them. They seem to want to be with you. They also want to be with their people. Whenever the fitna comes, you find them going back on their heels. That's Surah An-Nisa. And also in Surah Al-Baqarah about the Qibla, سيقول السفهاء من الناس ما ولاهم عن قبلتهم التي كانوا عليها. The foolish ones, السفهاء, will say, سيقول, foolish ones amongst the people will say, what is it that turned them away from their Qibla? التي كانوا عليها, that they used to be on, or that they used to pray towards. جيد. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah, where the dua of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu got accepted when he was hoping and praying to Allah Ta'ala that we would be facing the Kaaba in the prayers. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Umar ibn al-Khattab, right? Or was it Abu Bakr as-Siddiq? Allahu A'lam, I can't remember. It seems like, I think it was Umar ibn al-Khattab. He was hoping to face the Kaaba, and then this ayah came in accordance to what he was hoping. Barakallahu feekum. Let's keep going, inshallah.
Ustad, just on that point, it has been like several times, isn't it, with Umar radiallahu anhu, this type of incident?
Yeah, it happened with both actually. Even with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhuma, that they had occasions where they wished for something, hoped for something, asked for something, made dua for something, suggested something, and the Quran came in agreement with that.
Yeah,
and some of the Sahaba, I think, would say to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, "Ma hiya awwalu barakatukum." This is not the first barakah that has come from your family.
wow.
Referring to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu.
Mhm.
But yeah, there were occasions like that. It'd be nice to review them and to get a mention of them. You'll find them in the virtues of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq in Sahih al-Bukhari, the virtues of the Sahaba, Fada'il al-Sahaba, and virtues of Abu Bakr and the virtues of Umar ibn Khattab. Fantastic chapter of Sahih al-Bukhari that anyone can go back to and read those ahadith and to taste that portion of history, events that happened, and realizing and recognizing the status of these people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had chosen to be around and to be the closest around the Messenger of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So then we have this this harf amma, and we said that the jawab of amma is fa. Amma ana fa askunu ma'a qaribin li. Amma al-ingliziyatu fa'arifuha. Are these found in the Quran? Or you hear it in the khutbah all the time. Amma ba'd. Fa inna asdaq al-hadith. This fa, harf al-fa, this is the jawab. Jawabu amma. Let's look at the Quran and you find فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. This fa here, what is it? Jawab of amma. Which surah?
Surah Al-Luha.
Barakallahu feek. Al-yatim, do not be harsh to that person. وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ fa. Again, that fa is the jawab of amma. وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. Again in Surah Al-Duha, do not reprimand or rebuke, be harsh and turn the beggar away. So in Islam, despite begging being an act which is dispraised, despite that, if someone comes to you begging, you should not show them distaste and turn them away or reprimand them or rebuke them. Treat them well, treat them kindly. If you have something to give them, give it. If you have nothing to give them, don't give it, but you should not be reprimanding. And you are allowed to advise them. You can advise them softly as well. We don't know their condition. Allah Ta'ala is the one who knows their condition, and He will take each person individually to account according to the situation. Some people are they have no choice. If they were not to ask, they would die, meaning on that day. And it could be that was the only day that they came out to ask in order to prevent themselves from dying, or from someone in their family from dying. So, yeah, we have to use our judgment of who to give, who not to give, but the treatment should be well all the time. Treat them respectfully. And Allah Ta'ala is their judge. Allahu A'lam. وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. So as you see, all these examples of amma being used, and then fa is the jawab. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And as for the blessings of your Lord, speak about them. This is one of the ways of being thankful to Allah, is mentioning the blessings that Allah Ta'ala gave you without being boastful about it, but being a thankful servant about it and talking about it in a manner that will increase your gratitude and your gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so these three ayat over here, examples, I gave them with the jawab. And these next few examples, I've given them without the jawab, and you have to give the jawab. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى
صدق بالحسنى
وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى.
فسنيسره
Fa. Now comes the fa. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. As for the person who gave and had taqwa and he believed in the hereafter or in the reward, and the صدق بالحسنى, then we shall make easy for that person the path to good. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. Then this part of the ayah, وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى.
وكذب بالحسنى فسنيسره للعسرى.
الله يبارك فيك. وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى. The fa over here comes again as a jawab of amma. As for the person who was stingy, considered himself self-sufficient, istaghna, وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى, denied the hereafter, the resurrection. So for that person, فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى, we shall make the path of difficulty easy for him. طيب. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ
فهو في عيشة راضية.
أحسنت. فهو comes the jawab of amma. فهو في عيشة راضية. As for that person whose scales will be heavy, what is it? فأما من ثقلت موازينه
فهو في عيشة راضية
فهو في عيشة راضية. That person will be in a life of pleasure. وأما من خفت موازينه
أمه هاوية.
فأمه هاوية.
The jawab comes again. فأمه هاوية. That person will be in the hellfire. Al-Hawiyah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the hellfire. Allahumma a'idna min al-nar.
آمين
آمين.
جيد. So let's keep going. Dars al-Thani Ashar. As you can see, the example in the Quran is given as started. And Dars al-Thani Ashar was to introduce the verb for mu'annath. جيد. Mu'annath in the singular and also mu'annath in the plural. So anti taf'alina, as you can see over here. Anti taf'alina. And mata tadhhabina. This is for anti. Later on in the same lesson, Noon and Niswa came on. It was mentioned, it was introduced. There it is. وَمَتَى تَكْتُبْنَا الْوَاجِبَاتِ. Talking about the group of people, يا بنات. وَمَاذَا تَفْعَلْنَ أَنْتُنَّ يا بناتي. And here, متى تذهبن لزيارة خالتكن. Beautiful ayah in Surah An-Nur addressing, first the ayah before it addresses the men. وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُم. Say to the believing men to lower their gaze and protect their chastity. That is better for them. Yeah. The next ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. And say to the believing women, يَغْضُضْنَ. This is the noon. This is fi'l mudari'. and that is the noon of niswa. Min absarihinna wa yahfadhna furujahunna wa yubdina, and they should not make apparent zinatahunna, their beautification, illa ma dhahara minha, except that which ordinarily appears. And there's various tafsirs for that in the Quran. Wal yadribna bi khumurihinna, and they should cast over their khumur. They should cast their khumur, their coverings, ala juyubihinna. And al-khumur is basically the plural of al-khimar. And this is the ayah that the Orientalists and the modernists and the liberalists, some of them, may Allah guide them, from amongst the Muslims, claim that there's no mention of the hijab in the Quran, there's no mention of face being covered, no mention of the head being covered. It only says you should cover your juyub, which is your chest, the upper chest and the neck. And they say there's no mention of head or face over here. So the tafsir of this ayah was explained in the actions of the sahabiyat. When Allah Ta'ala said, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَا بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ, you should cast your khimars over your breasts or over your chests. The sahabiyat, they didn't take their cloth and their sheet and put it around their shoulders and over their chest. Rather, they placed it from over their heads and they went down, covering their faces and covering their bodies and their chests, to the degree that some of them said that some of us would only open the portion of an eye so we could see where we were going. This is the ayah that the people of Ta'wil al-Fasid, the misinterpretation of the Quran, this will use to trick people into believing that there's no mention of hijab in the Quran. So pay attention to that and learn the meanings of these ayat. This is the clear significance of saying Quran and Sunnah upon the understanding of who? Of the BBC?
No, the Salaf, the Salih.
Barakallah feek. Barakallah feek. Because what happens is, you got the BBC holding these conferences in Qatar and different places, coming to explain. La ilaha illallah. So the significance of saying, and okay, forget the BBC. Muslims around the world, in various countries, take this poor understanding. We don't have to cover our heads. We don't have to cover our faces. We only have to cover our chest, because that's what's mentioned out here in the Quran. And from the losers who recently shocked us and took this opinion, he took this particular, this strange approach, was Osama Hassan. This strange individual who had even declared worse things than that. This statement of his was no surprise after he said that he agreed with the theory of evolution that Charles Darwin had come with. This is that individual who translated, so that you all know, a portion of history that some of you might not know. You'll find his name on the Shaykh al-Albani's translation of Sifatul Salat al-Nabi, the Prophet's prayer described. The original print and the original translation, the yellow one, has Osama Hassan's name on it. This is that individual. When he was young, he memorized the Quran and went to competitions in Makkah, and then he translated. His father was a graduate from Madeenah. His grandfather was a teacher there. And they were all on the path of Ikhwan Muslimun to one degree or another. Jamaat Islami, whether they realized it or not, or accepted it or agreed or not. And then you had this individual, Osama Hassan. In his later days, he became, he thought himself intelligent, and his foot slipped. And that's Allah Ta'ala thabat. Always ask Allah Ta'ala to keep you firm. As the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would often make dua in sujood, Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. And he began to say that I find it difficult to reject the theory of Darwinism or of evolution, whichever words he used. Adahullah. And then later, he began to say also further other strange things. Lesser in degree, but yeah, this is one of the things that he spoke about. وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا لِبُعُولَتِهِنَّ. And they should not make their beauty apparent. Zinatuhunna over here, zinatuhunna, the illa li'bulatihin should be only to their husbands. Aw abaihinna, their fathers. Aw abai bu'ulatihin, or their father-in-laws. Aw abnaihinna. Aw abnai bu'ulatihinna. These are the categories of people that is allowed for a woman to remove her hijab. This zina over here is not referring to the zina of fitna. This is referred to, as is mentioned in the books of tafsir, what ordinarily shows. They said, as Shaykh Ibn Baz explains, this is the mawdi'ul qilada wal aswara, the portion, the place where she places a necklace. Not a long dangling necklace, a necklace meaning around her neck, high on her neck. This area, the top part of her, the upper part of her torso, just around the neck area, and her forearms. This is the portions of the body and the lower parts of her legs. This is what is allowed to be shown in front of father, father-in-law, son, son-in-law, brothers, nephews, and even amongst the other women, nephews, and wa'aw nisa'ihin, and amongst their women. Even amongst their women, the portion of the body that a woman uncovers should not be an area that causes fitna, as has been explained in the books of tafsir. جيد. ولا يضربن بأرجلهن ليعلم ما يخفين. As you can see, these verbs, all of them have nun and niswa. They should not strike their feet, so that it becomes known of that which they are hiding of adornment, meaning those anklets that people used to wear or may wear sometimes on their, ladies may wear on their ankles. And if a person's covering with hijab, they shouldn't start, what do you call that? Stamping their feet in order to draw attention. Khair. Let's keep going. Aywa. So let's go for Surah Thalatha. The hair of the women is allowed. Naam, sister, the hair of the women, as far as I know, it's allowed. Wallahu a'lam. طيب.
Okay.
Barakallahu fik, akhi Imran, that's correct now. Head covering, but the neck was exposed, so the khimar then covered the breast as well, as is proved by the word ala, which shows that it is from top to bottom now. Allah barak fik. طيب. So we are on a Dars al-Thani Ashar in the Muraja'a still. We have some other examples to cover, which we will, inshallah, cover in our last and final lesson of revision of these durus next class, inshallah. Right now, let's have a quick look at the statement that was posted earlier, Sheikh Salih Fawzan's explanation of Al-Usul al-Thalatha. If I stop sharing my screen, then you can share yours, Akhil Kareem.
Yeah, sure. Is it clear?
Yep. Barakallahu fik.
Okay, sure.
Just realized I don't have my that writing tools. Give me a second.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that because it'll be good if you can share it, because then you can also put the arrows and the boxes at the
In the homework, you see it.
Oh, I'm stuck. It's been moved from my head.
I've given control to you, Ustad. If you can maybe.
Hey, no, nothing. I think that the best option just to continue as it is without that writing tool.
طيب.
Because this is where a person has to exercise patience.
No problem.
He's like, where's that writing tool?
That's fine.
Right. So, Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Hafidahullah Ta'ala, in explaining al-Usul al-Thalatha. This basically was a question on the WhatsApp group that was posted and asking for a brief explanation of the meaning, and also let's have a look at some of the grammar. Let's keep it brief, inshallah. وَهَذِهِ الرِّسَالَةُ. Actually, I don't mind if someone reads. Then I can ask a couple of questions as we're going. What do you think, Brother Muzammil?
No.
Okay, we can do that. Not a problem.
Yeah, maybe we need to read, Muzammil. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'll be happy. Shall I read it?
Please, Bismillah.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وهذه الرسالة في أصل عظيم من أصول الإسلام.
Allah Akbar. So you can see here, وَهَذِهِ الرِّسَالَةُ. So I do have the writing tools, yeah?
Let me just see. Let me give you the control.
So هذه الرسالة, over here, there is a dhamma on الرسالة, as there's nothing that came before it to change it to a fatha to a kasra. So it's the asl. The asl is that it is on dhamma. And basically, هذه, this is going to be mubtada, and الرسالة is going to be badal. جيد. And then the khabar is going to be في أصل عظيم من أصول الإسلام. Okay, أصل because it's harf al-jar and there's no alif al-lam, and عظيم. This is, you have to understand that when it is important for a mudaf and mudaf and related to take place, and when there's no need. So you won't say في أصل عظيم, as if asl belongs to Adim. Yeah, like Adim is a person or something, and this is the principle that belongs to Adim. No, this is a great principle. So therefore, it's not mudaf and ilayhi. Asl is a noun, standalone ism, and Adim is the na'at of aslin. That's why Muzammil said, Ustad Muzammil said, fi aslin Adimin. And he said, min usulil islami. This is مضاف مضاف إليه. طيب تفضل please.
What about the wow that's beginning the sentence?
This waw is called waw al-isti'naf. Basically, it's waw of starting, and it's just, I don't think it has a particular i'rab to it, but it just shows that the sentence is beginning. It's almost similar to a full stop, but though it's not like that. In the middle of a sentence, it behaves almost like a full stop, like here. وَهُوَ الْعَقِيدَةُ. And this waw basically is also, it seems that it's isti'naf. It's not atf, because there's nothing really to do atf of. But the dhamir is there to refer back to what preceded. تفضل أخي مزمل.
Yeah. And if I'm correct, Ustad, if I remember correctly, enough, they also use it when they are announcing a new lesson. So I've noticed when we get notifications, for example, of Sheikh Fawzan resuming the durus, I think there is mention of.
That's the word. That's the same word. Isti'naf ad-durus, meaning they will recommence, so they will be commencing.
Yeah. Ustad, I was just thinking, is it okay if we translate that once, the overall paragraph, just so the overall context is clear, and then we quickly run through the analysis? Is that okay?
Yeah, we can do that. Except I'm conscious about the time because the adhan over here is gone.
Oh.
So maybe we'll do the translation now and then do the analysis next lesson.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
That also work. I know that Brother Sadiq, who I haven't spoken to for many years, Allahumma barik fi, has got his hand up, and the mic is on, Masad, that you can talk anytime. That's the rule here.
Just a quick question about translation. Jazakumullah khaira. Because of the waw of the now, is it better not to translate it as and since it's
okay, that's a good question. That's a good question. Allahu Alam, Akhil Kareem, previously we did say that we will avoid taking it as a translation lesson because there are some specific rules that go with translation that this is not going to be the place to discuss. And also, I'm not aware of many of those rules because I haven't studied translation to that, academic level and to that degree. But personally, I would say that if it is required, or if it makes it easy to understand, or it creates flow, use it. And if it doesn't, if it does no damage to the text by removing it, then it's fine to remove it. Otherwise, you'll see our early translations. Every sentence started with and that's what happens. And that's worse than trying to create. When you're writing in a language, you have to target the language, the audience of that language, and they're not used to seeing and at the beginning of every sentence.
نعم صحيح. جزاك الله خيرا.
تفضل أخي أستاذ مزمل.
اوكي طيب. وهذه الرسالة في أصل عظيم من أصول الإسلام وهو العقيدة. وهو العقيدة.
العقيدة.
وهو العقيدة صحيح؟
الله يبارك فيك صحيح. So this treatise or treatise or this book is about fi, meaning about aslin, a principle, adhimin, which is great, min, from usul al-Islami, from the principles of Islam, from the fundamentals of Islam. Wahuwa, and that is, or and this is, or and it is, al-aqidatu, the belief. The belief. This book is about a great principle from the principles of Islam, and that is al-aqidah. Al-aqidah meaning the beliefs of a Muslim. Go ahead.
وكان العلماء يهتمون بهذه المختصرات يؤلفونها ويتعبون على اختصارها ويتعبون على اختصارها وتهذيبها.
جيد. Stop there, inshallah. وكان العلماء, and the scholars were used to give great care, يهتمون, to these short, brief books, يؤلفونها, by writing them, and tirelessly or tiring themselves out to abridge them and to refine them. تهذيبها. Then
ثم يحفظونها لطلبتهم.
بارك الله فيك. And then they would get their students to memorize them, to memorize those texts.
لتبقى أصولا عندهم.
So that they would remain as principles or as foundations or fundamentals with them, with the students.
وذخيرة عندهم.
بارك الله فيك. And ذخيرة basically means a stockpile, something which has been preserved, something which has been kept safe with them.
يستفيدون منها ويفيدون منها.
يستفيدون means that so that they could take benefit minha, from those principles, ويفيدون, and they would be able to give benefit to others minha, from those principles. Jazakallah khair, that's wonderful reading. Ahsan. So this small book is about a great principle from the principles of Islam, referring to al-aqidah, and the ulama would pay great attention to these short books by writing them, and they would tie themselves out into tire themselves out in abridging them and refining them and making it easy for their students to memorize, or make the students memorize. لِتَبْقَى, so that they would remain as principles with the students and as memorized. What do we say? I'm not sure what word to use, but basically memorize amounts of knowledge with them so that they could benefit from them and benefit others as well from them. Barakallahu feekum. We'll stop there inshallah and continue. Maybe we'll start next lesson, or we'll finish next lesson inshallah as we did today with the same text and look at some of the points. Nice points of benefit over here that we will be able to learn from inshallah ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خير.
جزاكم الله خيرا.
جزاك الله خير. عايز السلام.
The translation for litabqa, Ustad, I'm assuming you're still here. So
I'm reading that question. If you can see the question,
yep.
If we can identify that question, inshallah. But basically, this question is about selling something that you don't own. When someone likes it, you show them a picture of something, they like it, then you go and buy it and sell it at a profit. And this is not allowed in general, but there are a few ways to make it permissible. But that question needs some detail to be looked at. I don't know who the question came from. It says anonymous attendee. So if they
okay.
Details,
I didn't realize that. I wasn't looking at that one, but I was looking at the other question about the meaning of litabqa. Litabqa.
Litabqa means to remain, right?
Yeah.
To stay.
Yeah.
So okay.
So that the principles or the usul, the foundations, and the zakhira, I think we called the stock or the that basically remains with them, and they benefit from it, and they benefit others.
So if we can get an answer to this for this brother, that'd be great, inshallah. I don't know who it is, and plus they're praying, so I must dash.
Jazakallah khair, Ustad. That was really beneficial, and we'll continue on Thursday.
I benefited as well. Assalamu alaikum.